Hey, everybody, it is Tim Gillette, and we are back with another Tim Gillette show. I love this because, as our year is winding down, and we're kind of winding down to the end of season 7 here, all right, with the podcast, we're still meeting very, very cool and interesting people. Today's guest, no different. Someone that, we had a brief chat, and I'm sure we'll try to point it out on the conversation today, but we said we've met before. We just can't picture where it happened. So that being said, we're going to actually get to know our guest today, have a good time while we are live on air. And I'm going to get to know Adam because I don't know him personally. And this is why I have a podcast, to get to interview and know the coolest people on the planet. So let me bring him up here and we'll find out all about him. Mr. Adam, welcome to the show.
Tim, I am singularly honored to be here today. I've been looking forward to this for more than a minute. Yeah. As I mentioned in the green room, I think of you every time I fix my hair in the morning.
Yeah. What can I say? You're a sharp guy when it comes to hairdressing.
Homie, don't play that.
I'm glad I haven't had to go there yet. So I think I used to have a pin. I got it for a buddy of mine when we rode bikes. All right. A buddy of mine who had a bald head, and I basically bought the pin and gave it to him. I said, now you can officially wear that. And it said, hairdo by Gillette.
So, nice.
Yeah. And yeah, he shaved his head too. He was a biker friend of mine, shaved his head, but had his big old goatee. You know how bikers are. Yeah. So anyway, so Adam, what part of the country are you tuning into us today from?
I am here in sumptuous, beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, the hottest city in America, as I like to say.
I've taken a gamble and come through there a time or two.
That's very punny.
As a matter of fact, all right, I will tell you a unique story. Just before the pandemic, I spoke in Orange County, California, flew out of John Wayne to Vegas, and then Vegas back here to Dallas. One of the last few flights, and that was the deadest I've ever seen the Vegas airport.
Yeah, it's usually not a dead airport by any means. I mean, we're at the point right now, at least as of our conversation, that some of our garages are so full from so many people being on airplanes on extended flights that they've had to close some of them down.
Wow. Just, mind blowing. I mean, it was a unique experience because, like, first of all, to see the Vegas airport empty is unique. That thing operates 24/7, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And it was the first time I'd ever seen it. And I do know that I was there right about the same time because I listened to Mike Rowe's podcast. All right. And I'm a big fan of Mike Rowe. And Mike Rowe was at a convention that basically 3 weeks later on his podcast, he spoke about it. I'm like, I was there that day, right? He's talking about trying to get a flight out of Vegas back home, and he couldn't. All right, and one of the people who knew him got him home on a private plane. But I'm like, he's talking about the day, and I'm like, yep, I was at the airport that day, and I wished I would have seen Mike because I'm a fan of his. But anyway, yeah. But Vegas is an interesting town.
Yeah, it is.
I've been through. I'm trying to think out there that I know. I know James Malinchak out there. I don't know if you know James.
Oh yeah, I've James Malinchak and I go back well over 15 years at this point. In fact, the very first seminar I ever attended once I jumped into entrepreneurship was one of the early college speaking boot camps. Now, this was back when they were in small conference rooms and there were 40 people there. So I was already in the James Malinchak environment before he reached the arenas, before Secret Millionaire and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met James for the first time just after Secret Millionaire.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, I seen him and I'm like, I know that guy, right? It's like, I don't watch much TV live, but that was like one of those shows I caught. All right. Because, James, it was highly publicized because James just a public, a PR guy. He'll just get it out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it, but I didn't know that I was seeing it, knowing I was going to meet that guy within a matter of weeks. So it was a really cool thing to actually connect with him.
Yeah. And there's a small world thing between me and James. He grew up about 20 minutes from where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 6 years older than me chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that a couple of his cousins are friends with a couple of my cousins. And somehow I'd heard the name Malinchak. I didn't know why. When I became an entrepreneur and I was invited to attend that college speaking boot camp, I was going with a client of mine. And he said, James Malinchak. I'm thinking, Malinchak. Where have I heard that name from?
Yeah. So you grew up on the western side of PA, or?
Yes, I did. Yep, you knew it.
Yeah. Because I knew I grew up in PA. I grew up in the eastern side. I was born in Scranton.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm eastern side of I-80. You're western side.
That's correct. You got it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I always tell the stories. I just actually was this last weekend. I was down in another friend of mine's from Pennsylvania, who lives down here in Texas now. Sandra D. Robinson. I don't know if you know Sandra.
Now that's another name that I've heard.
Yeah. Sandra and I, same thing, Pennsylvania. And I always tell the stories of success stories, people who get out of Pennsylvania. And it's just something like, it's almost like it's like the restrictor plates were taken off the NASCAR when they get out of Pennsylvania. They shoot, man. They just go, because there's something that just like we felt when we were there, we were bogged down, and we get out and it's almost like, wait, we have the freedom to do this now, and we take off. And growing up there, you've probably seen the same thing.
Well, I can tell you this much. Once I got into attending seminars and I picked up some clients on the West Coast and in Nevada, I found that I was frequently traveling to the part of the world I live in now. Los Angeles, San Diego, Phoenix, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I thought, actually my accountant did a bit of this thinking for me, and he pointed out that my credit card balances were starting to skyrocket with all the travel expenses we were floating. Yeah. And he planted the seed in my mind, like, dude, why don't you just move there? And then I started thinking about it, and I realized that when I came out here, it felt like I was headed home. But when I went back to Pennsylvania, it was sort of like I was going out of town. I was going away from home.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to make the move. I had it coincide with when my lease on my apartment expired in Pittsburgh that particular year in 2013, just to spare myself the issues of having to deal with cancellations and things like that. Also gave me all summer to plan for it. And I picked Las Vegas because cost of living wise, once you average everything out, it's actually pretty close to what you and I experience in Pennsylvania. The costs of living are actually very similar. You just pay for things in different ways. Yeah. And it's within driving distance of those other three cities I mentioned: Los Angeles, San Diego, and Phoenix. In fact, the best way I know how to describe it is, and I'm going to try and do this in reverse so that it looks right to your viewers. So here's Las Vegas, and you've got San Diego, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And either way you look at it, it's about a 5-hour drive, which is a piece of cake.
I've done every one of them myself on a motorcycle or a car or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and it's, but I always said, if you're going to be a speaker, the unique thing about Las Vegas was, you can get a flight out of there day or night.
Piece of cake. I mean, we're a major hub.
One of the most trafficked airports. And I know a lot of speakers who live there.
And some of them, I've spoken with some of them, came here for that reason, because it's such a travel hub. Yeah. Now, one final point I want to make is I've met so many people that I had known through online experiences for years. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One thing I've discovered is everybody passes through Las Vegas eventually.
Yeah. So, another one, I had somebody on there last year. Scott McCain. Do you know Scott?
Oh yeah, I know Scott.
Yeah, Scott McCain. Another one. I didn't know Scott had a Vegas. I know he's from Indiana originally, but he had a Vegas where he lives.
Oh yeah, he's lived here for a long time.
Yeah, he basically said the same thing. It's very, very convenient travel hub to get in and out of. So, and that is one thing good about there. Now, when you do a lot of your traveling to speak, are you speaking in Vegas or are you speaking out of Vegas now?
Well, right now, as of the time we're having this conversation, this is subject to change from later. I'm more of a regional speaker. So I will speak in Las Vegas or basically any of those cities I mentioned, anything within driving distance. I was never a big fan of air travel. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not afraid of it or anything like that. But actually, as I mentioned a moment ago, part of the reason I picked Las Vegas is because it was in driving distance of 3 other cities that I enjoyed and frequently had reasons to visit. I love the idea of a good road trip.
Yeah. Now, road trip, it's funny you said that because I had this 2 weeks ago. I had to run to San Antonio for the weekend. And from Dallas to San Antonio, probably about a little more than 4.5 hours drive.
Yeah.
All right. But if you go to the airport, all right, wait in line to get your flight. All right. It can take you about 2.5, maybe 3. And then you got to rent. By the time you get out, I'm going to rent a car. Right. So I'm like, I'm just going to drive there. Right. Same thing with Houston from Dallas. Same thing. But you know what I mean? I got to, like, middle of the night, I hopped in my car at, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night, and was in my hotel in San Antonio at midnight. So it's like,
Here's the other thing too, and I've done similar mathematics. In fact, I think I wrote an article about this once. By the time you deal with getting to the airport early, standing in this line, the hurry up and wait here, the delays, the reconfigurations, the on the ground, and then waiting and going here and going there, and at every step of the way, there are people lined up just waiting for the opportunity to boss you around.
Yeah.
Whereas when you drive, I get in my car whenever I feel like it, and I just go.
Yeah.
And if I want to stop for a break, I stop for a break. If I want to plow straight through, I plow straight through. And when I'm there, I'm there.
Yeah. So, and I did it when I first started out, Adam. In my speaking in the early years, 2010 through about 2014, I did motorcycle. So I was riding my Harley to places.
Nice.
And I remember riding my Harley to Vegas.
Nice.
And meeting my friend Jonathan, and like him coming down going, oh my gosh, man, you got a pretty cool ride, and yeah, it was cool, but that was just exactly what I wanted to do at the time. Boy, that wore me out though real fast. I realized that's not an ideal, ride all day and then hop on a stage at night. By the time you get off the stage at night, well, you were beat. So, so it was a little different path to take on that. Well, Adam, all right, you've been in Vegas then, you said what, 2013?
2013 I arrived.
How long have you been in the speaking industry?
I actually became officially a stage speaker the year before that.
Okay. And then, like, you got into through over the years. All right, what was the topics? Where were you when you started as a speaker? What topics, and where are you now?
Let's see. My original topic was how to build your website on WordPress, basically. We've evolved pretty far beyond then. So my current topics are either on what's called the spring formula, which is captured in my book, Groundhog Day is an Event, Not a Business Strategy. And the purpose of the spring formula is really to help you embrace the power of language to make big change, to make big impacts through small changes in your verbiage, and to achieve maximum results through minimalism and essentialism. It's all about getting the entrepreneur past that plateau that they get stuck on sometimes, whether it's the same problem, it never goes away, never breaking out of the same level of profitability or lack thereof or what have you, so that they don't feel like they're stuck in that movie Groundhog Day, except in hell. Yeah. The other thing that I speak on is the reach system. And that is the formula that I've developed that we use to work with entrepreneurs to create and launch their podcast as their key networking, client attraction, and celebrity expert branding tool.
Cool. So, I mean, and what made you twist to that? I know when I started out with a blog and eventually started speaking on blogging. And now, that
was my supervisor, Princess Alessandra. She was on camera a minute ago. Sometimes she gets a little out of hand. The beautiful thing about podcasting is it's meta marketing. You just keep going.
Yep, you did. That's right. So I don't edit my podcasts.
Good. In fact, we teach people that what you do is you optimize as much as you can before you turn the camera on. One of the things we teach in our system is what I call the Clint Eastwood director style. What's unique about how Clint Eastwood directs movies is he does most of the scenes in one take, sometimes two, but usually one take. He puts the energy into the preparation so that the product that comes out once they roll the cameras is most likely to be what he's looking for. He also doesn't fuss over little insignificant things. He's looking for the main energy, the main message, the main script to come out. As long as you get it, it's good. It goes in the can. Yeah. So he does it because he wants to create a sense with the people involved in the production that there is inertia moving it forward. How debilitating is it to spend the entire day filming the same scene 175 times versus how exhilarating is it to go through a day and come out of it saying, hey, we got 14 scenes done.
I like to do mine one time, so I get it.
Yep.
So, and well, that you know, that's why I created this format. Exactly, Adam. Is I'm having a one-on-one conversation with you.
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean? And you've probably been on those podcasts. You've probably seen them, and all the people, they probably come to you and say, fix this. Is they are reading the same question that was asked to them on the podcast before that. It's like Perv Hadley from from Parks and Recreation. It's like, I am reading from a script and you can tell it. Yeah.
I've had a few of those before. In fact, in our system, we actually have a process that helps hosts break free of that, because I've had some of those where I could tell that my guest was reading from a script from the shows that I host. Or I'd ask a question and they would say, "That's a great question, Adam. Thank you for asking." And the answer to that question is, and so then I ask the next question. That's another great one. And I get this one all the time. So here are my thoughts on this. And you could tell they were reading from a script.
Yeah.
I'll give your listeners a little nugget of wisdom right now, if you'll allow me.
Go ahead.
The way to help them out of that is to simply ask questions about whatever they just said. It's their story. They are probably more familiar with that. And if they're reading off a script, what that probably means, and I say this from compassion, is they are just not yet at the level where their message that they bring to their community, market, and audience has been internalized within themselves. Yeah. And by helping them and giving them the space to read from the script, and then also helping them by giving them ways to speak extemporaneously, you're actually assisting in their growth.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and I remember the first podcast I was ever interviewed on. A set of twins from California actually interviewed me, and they asked me, "Well, so what are the questions you want to ask?" I'm like, "Huh? Like what?" I didn't understand the concept. I'm like, "What do you mean? You're going to ask me questions?" So yeah. And I'm like, I didn't really understand that that's the way a lot of podcasts are done, right?
That's how my Business Creators Radio show is done. I have the guests submit their suggested interview questions. Yeah. We may do them in order. We may mix and match. We may start with that outline and then find that the conversation goes naturally in a different direction. Yeah. But either way, what the questions really do for me is I get so many applications all the time. And at this point, there are so many more guests than there are active shows and spots to fill, that I am not going to spend an hour researching each guest. If you showed up tomorrow and you applied to be on my show, I'm going to assume that because you applied, you're a good guest.
Yeah.
What I need to know is what's going to make you an interesting guest. I can take a look at your suggested interview questions. I see your talking points right there.
Yeah.
I can make a go, no go based on that within 5 seconds. So with our reachers, and we help them design their one sheets, we help them make the questions interesting and thought provoking, because the real audience for that is usually either the host or the producer making a decision whether to interview them in the first place.
Wow. Yeah. For me, I look at a lot of stories too, to see whether there's story. It's like the biggest thing I look at, and tell me, I mean, you probably have this too, is the About Me page. I want to set the About Me page on your website. I have one of the most unique ones out there.
Oh, I've seen it. Not Tom Petty.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Not Tom Petty is one of them, but I have the other About Me page that basically is a sales letter.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "I found someone else who had the formula, and I took the formula and put my words into it. That's it."
Right.
It wasn't hard, but
there's not much new under the sun.
Yeah, it's just being unique and standing out. And interesting enough, Adam, you've seen the Not Tom Petty thing. For the longest time, I had long hair.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I'm like, you know what? And I remember sitting with my coach and going, I feel like I'm a gimmick. I don't want to be a gimmick anymore.
That's how I know you from somewhere, but I just can't place it, because I remember a guy whose last name was Gillette. That stood out. And he had long hair.
Yeah. But I mean, I felt like a gimmick doing it, and I wanted out of it. I wanted out of the gimmick. So my coach said, we put it up to a PR event. All right. Made a publicity stunt out of it, and did it. And he's like, "We'll see what happens. If worse happens, it'll take you 1.5 years to grow it back." Right.
Right.
2 years now. This May will be 2 years that I cut my hair off, and everybody's like, I still have people. As a matter of fact, I had somebody the night before Thanksgiving that I knew in the Dallas area. He's from the music industry that I ran into him. He's a lead singer of a band, and I run into him, and he goes, "Tim, you cut your hair." Right? He'd not seen me in person in almost 2 years. Yeah. It blew his mind anyway. So that's like unique. I didn't want to be a gimmick anymore. How many times you get people coming to be on your show that they're a gimmick, and you can tell they're a gimmick from a mile off. These guys got no substance. It's a face facade gimmick. And as
Right.
soon as you pull that off, you got to ask them the questions because they don't know it outside of that.
Right. I mean, there's if you want to start with something, and we'll use the word gimmick for lack of a better word, that's a great way to stand out from the sea of other folks, because it's also my contention that there really is not a lot new under the sun.
Yeah.
This is why I'll get up on stages or I'll go on podcasts or webinars, and at some point in the conversation, we may get to the point where I say, and you may have this one thing in your business, and if you have it right now, you don't need it, you don't want it, you should get rid of it. And that is traffic to your website. If you have traffic to your website, throw it out. Don't go for it. You don't want it. You don't need it. Now, people look at that and they say, what? Did he just say the world is flat? So you may be thinking, gimmick. Yeah. Well, I take that and I develop that further. So I say, let's look at that phrase, traffic to your website. Traffic. For the sake of brevity, I'll just say that's why I live the laptop lifestyle. Website. What is a website? Is that a podcast site? Is that a sales letter? Is that a homepage? Is that an about page? Is that your legal terms page? Is that your products page? All those things can be websites, and a website can contain all of those things. So rather than a traffic to your website, we urge you to attract visitors to your web pages who conform with the 3 P's of website conversions: pre-qualified, prepped, and pumped.
Yeah.
So you see what I did there is I simply took a term that everybody is using. Mm-hmm. I renamed it, and I create a brief description that adds the value of why we're having the conversation about the renaming.
Yeah.
So it's on the surface, it's a gimmick, it's an attention getter. And then I take it and I turn it into a teachable moment. Mm-hmm. I also highlight Chuck Norris, who's created his own brand of martial arts. It's actually simply his adaptation of a couple other schools of martial arts. In fact, for many years, there was not a thing original about it. And even through practice, he's developed a few of his own moves and techniques that he's integrated into his own style of martial arts. But the bottom line is he hasn't really innovated a whole lot in the area of martial arts. What makes his brand of martial arts special is it's his.
That's it. So
yeah. And so this is where we have the sort of that fine line. Is it a gimmick or is it a differentiator? Mm-hmm. And I think when you differentiate, it's when you take something that already exists and you add your own spin to it, like I did with the visitors to your webpage thing, and the Chuck Norris has done over the years by creating a few of his own moves. I mean, we all know that one of his moves is the roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
So he took other schools of martial arts and he put them together, and then he developed techniques that involved the roundhouse kick. So that's what he's known for. That's what makes his special.
Yeah. And it's unique that you say that, because that was one of the key things that was the original driving factor I had in building what I did, was having Zig Ziglar say, Tim, you just need to be you. Don't be Zig. Yeah. Don't be you. And that's where, when I cut my hair off, I realized you is a fluid subject.
Yes.
It is not a constant. So like I'm an outline guy. All right. This is the outline for my show.
Yeah.
I'm an outline
I do
guy.
the same. I do the same thing by live streams in my Facebook group.
Yeah. But there's a conversation part of it that's not outlined. You
right.
can't, I mean, so like there's part of it you got to let, there's part of it you got to let flow. Because if you don't, your business isn't going to flow. As soon as that pipeline dries up, your business dries up. And that's where most people get caught up in, is they get so structured in everything that they structure it down to the pipeline. And as soon as that pipeline dries up, they've got no business again.
Well, I see that crash and burn coming every time I accept a new connection on Facebook or LinkedIn. And the next thing you know, they're in my DMs 10 seconds later. Hey, how's things?
Yeah.
It's like, I already know where this is going.
Yeah.
If I make a connection on social media, if I am feeling I really want to connect with them like right now, my first move is going to be to do a little bit of research on them, find something interesting, and say, hey, I saw this post where you shared this stuff. I think this is really interesting. I have a podcast. This is something I think my listeners would like too. Would you like to be on?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to have all these blah, 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 small talk, chatter, weather, coaching programs and all that. It's like, hey, come on my show. Let me feature you. Let me share you. Let me put the spotlight on you. Let me do something for you. So that's how I break free of that.
Do something like that.
Yeah, and if we're not at the point where I'm quite seeing that yet, then what I'll do is I'll just I'll check out their page and I'll like a couple things, put a couple comments on it. Not from 3 years ago because I don't want them to think I'm photo stalking or anything. But I'll just see
Adam,
I'll just see a recent post or two and I'll like it and I'll comment on it.
Yeah.
And that just shows, hey, I checked you out. Hey, I find this interesting, and it creates an opening for a conversation. It's in no way forced.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that is because like one of the things that I learned to do, this is like networking. I don't like going to networking events. I don't know if you
Me neither.
Person events. I hate it. My coach drags me to him because he moved to Dallas and now he goes to him and says, "Oh, Tim, you're going with me, right?" And I'm like, yeah. So I whenever we go to them, I hate it because basically everybody there is getting ready. They're not listening to you. They're getting ready to say what they've got to say.
Yep.
And then they don't listen until after their turn's gone. So I did the same thing you do. I basically stand up and go, "Hey, listen, I'm Tim Gillette. I'm not here to market anything. I've got a podcast where I interview the coolest people on the planet. I want to find out about you and interview you on my podcast. If you want that, let me know afterwards and come see me. I'd love to interview you and share you out with my audience." I get cards out of everywhere. I got people I can choose from now, right?
Yeah.
But that is so, I can't believe that is so different that people have to come flocking to me. And not everybody has not figured out in the room. Stop going, me, and what do they want?
Yeah.
Just give them what they want and find out if it goes to the next level. Half the people come to me and on here, Adam, and they'll come to this and be interviewed, and then there'll be a speaker at my event. Funny how I can preview my speakers that way.
Yeah. Well, here, and this is something I'm just thinking of here. And see, on my show, the Business Creators Radio Show, I position it so that our listeners feel like they're tuning into a private mastermind conversation between myself and my guests. And that's what I feel like is happening between you and me, where we're bouncing off of each other. Yes. And when one of us says something, it makes the other think of something like, oh. So I got one for you. And this is a two-parter, but I'll move quickly. I was at a networking reception. It was like the night before a 2-day conference. I didn't want to be there. It was loud. It was noisy. The people I was supposed to meet there weren't there. And started running into the other attendees. And I started getting those, hey, so what do you do? Questions like, you want to introduce yourself first? We're asking me what I do for a living. And after about the fourth or fifth one, now I don't know what rating your show is in terms of NSFW or all that. So I'm gonna say this obliquely. After about the fifth one, I was just so irritated and sorry I got there. But I said, "Does it effing matter what I do?
Yeah.
What does it effing matter?" And they said, "Oh, that's an interesting thought. What does it really matter? Because I don't know you." Aha. And so that got the wheels turning.
Yeah.
And I tried this technique that I kind of developed on the fly as a result of that happening, where if somebody asked me what I do, I turned the conversation around very subtly, but very forcefully, so to speak, because I want to get them to tell me what they need, what they want. Mm-hmm. Because what I do doesn't matter until I know what Tim Gillette needs, what Tim Gillette wants. And then it's for me to be able to position what I do to meet your needs and wants if I am able, willing, or feel like doing it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I kind of roll on this. When I joined the Las Vegas Rotary Club, they gave me my first badge, because you wear badges to the meetings. It said consultant, because I didn't know, because you put your industry, not your business name. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to put, so I just said consultant. So this led to people showing up at the luncheons and say, "All right, so Adam, what kind of consulting do you do?" And what would I say? I'd say, "What does it matter?" And that would open up the similar conversation. Now that did get tiring. So after my book, Groundhog Day is an Event, Not a Business Strategy, came out, I paid the $17 to have a new badge made that said author/speaker.
Yeah.
So now I still get those same approaches, but the approaches are now, "Oh, you're an author. Well, what's your book?" "Hey, I'll tell you about my baby all day long." In fact, I invite that question.
Yep.
I'll tell you stories from the book. I'll tell you why the book has that name. I'll tell you what results I've gotten as a result of publishing the book. I'm an open book when it comes to that. And my sign-off line is, if you get a physical copy of it, bring it to me next time you see me. I'll autograph it for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love that because it's in a unique way. All right. You've opened the conversation. Another person we might know together. You know Bob Donnell?
That's not ringing a bell for me.
Okay, Bob Donnell, he's Orange County, California, and he has a
Okay.
thing next level by association. And
Okay.
Bob is one of the programs he does is called Connectology, is getting people to connect, right?
Right.
And he gets people come up and will say that, you know what I mean? So what do you do? And Bob goes, I teach people how not to have what do you do for a living as an opening question.
Ooh, now I got to look this guy up. I like that.
I think you and Bob will get along when you meet him. I love Bob because not only has he been a great friend and teacher with his stuff, all right, he's been someone that he's a very passionate person about connecting and helping people. And like, he's seen that I was going through something on social media, picks up the phone one day and just calls, hey, Tim, just Bob Donnell here, and I'm just checking on you. I want to see how you're doing. I said, well, I'm sitting in the truck. He says, well, can we take 5 minutes to talk real quick? And he has a relationship with me that even though I don't see him every day, he asked permission, can we talk? And then he hit me with the question because he knew by reading my posts and reading what I'm going through, what he needed to ask me to make sure I was all right. That's
and that is right.
Connecting.
Yeah, I love that. And the whole asking permission thing. I'm not yet a father. It may happen at some point, but I do have a lot of people my age who have kids at various ages. And we're seeing a whole lot of this thing about teaching children about boundaries, consent, and sovereignty by enforcing an atmosphere where their grandma can't just run up and hug them. She's got to ask permission, and vice versa. He's got to ask permission to hug his grandma. The idea being that rather than forcing interactions on people that they may or may not be comfortable with or eager to receive in that moment, and instead making it a permission-based thing, it helps people claim their sovereignty, which actually makes interactions with people better when you think about it. Because if you feel like you're making contact with somebody, you're having a conversation with someone, and maybe you're just not feeling it that day, but now you're obligated to do it. Well, is that you basically being forced to suppress your own feelings for somebody else's pleasure? That doesn't sound good.
No.
So when I heard your friend say, I can't remember exactly how you worded it, but it's like, hey, I have something I want to ask you. Can I ask you a question or something like that? I really latched on to that because I think it's just great, especially when you're asking for a specific amount of somebody's time or you don't know where they are, meaning up here in that moment.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is because he wasn't asking that to sell me. He was asking that because he knew it was going to be a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
And he was getting permission to approach the sensitive subject. And
I
that's
love
another
that.
thing we don't have is some things as coaches, sometimes we forget that sometimes these people aren't ready to share with us. All right. In this case here, he's not my coach. He's a friend who just happened to realize as a friend that I might need him in his specialty in business.
Right.
So he picks up the phone and gets permission. Didn't say, okay, I got your permission. Can I get your credit card number? We can take this on. No, gets my permission to then ask the questions. Wasn't worried about the dollar amount. Wasn't at all. He just knew I can help this friend. Let me call and help this friend.
Yeah.
So much, I think we're missing that. You and I are talking about the network. I think so many people are missing that in today's society because we aren't trying to help. We're trying to get the credit card number.
Well, yeah, and your network is your net worth. So let me develop that one step further. I've said things like you just said right now, and I've gotten pushback like, yeah, but how am I taking a stand for them by not helping them invest today? All right. So if that's your concern, that may be because you know that you only have a couple of these conversations even available to you at this moment.
Yeah.
And if you don't close those, you're going to have a financial problem. However, if you have a lot of these ongoing conversations, something could hit at any time. When I first launched the podcast reach system, I had a few people bubble up right away, and they looked like they were going to be hot prospects. And you know what I got when I made the offer?
What?
No. So I looked back at that and I realized two things. Number one, my avatar was off. So I wasn't having the right conversations with the right people. Fix that.
Yeah.
And then I also recognized that some of those no's, in fact, 3 of those no's specifically, have since become yeses and become clients. No in business oftentimes means not now. If you want it to be a firm, hard, permanent no, push the issue. If you want it to be a not right now, keep the conversation going. Yeah. And if you have a lot of those going, just by the numbers, they'll start hitting for you. So I went from no, and then it turned into no, yes, not now, see you in a month, yes, no, we'll do it in January, yes. And that's what my life looks like now, and that's much better.
Yeah. Because now it's like, like I said, I've got a list of people I can pull. I mean, you could probably, when you signed up with my process, how long did the date come before you were on the show? All right.
Not very long.
Yeah. I have I'm booking now into January, right? It's that's when you actually build that, that mindset. All right. And open yourself up to the plenty as opposed to the limited. All right. You now have more than you need. All right. And that's just happened to always be that way. So, yeah. Well, Adam, I mean, you've kind of mentioned it on and off. All right. When you talk about this reach system, can you give us a brief description of what it is that the reach system is and how you're using it to help people right now?
Okay. The reach system, particularly the podcast reach system, is my formula based on years of experience doing this hands-on for myself and with some of our clients in my other business, of launching your podcast as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, as somebody who wants to create a message and use it as your key networking, client attraction, and celebrity expert branding tool. We've tested so many different formulas. We've tried so many different things. And I have sifted through all that. I've done the testing. I've done the experimentation. I've seen where some of the pitfalls are. And I developed an 8-part system. And then don't be intimidated, because it's actually easy and mostly fun. And when you invest in our elite levels, you get a good bit of it done for you. And the idea is you come out of it with a podcast that hits the marketplace with usually 8 to 10 episodes live on day one. It has a system in place where you create the buzz around that immediately to get people excited. It gets you into a process that is driven by stick-to-itiveness and alignment with your business goals, so you continue to grow it over time. And the best part of it is you don't have to worry about listeners and downloads. Let me develop that one a little bit further, because I get those questions all the time. Well, why would I start a podcast? Who's going to listen to that? Where am I going to find listeners and downloads? Let me do a little shift for you, if I may. If you're treating listeners and downloads as the goal, you're less likely to get there, versus if you treat listeners and downloads as the result of pursuing your goals. When you make your interviews with your guests something that the guest really enjoys and is excited to share with the world, they will share it. They'll become your advocate. They will urge their audience to tune in. So that's more listeners, more downloads. When your topics are interesting, when they know that tuning into your show is not going to be a rote Q&A, but you're going to have some fun with it, more listeners, more downloads.
Yes.
When you run it through your own website rather than relying exclusively on a third-party platform where you can search engine optimize and search engine market till the cows come home and go out again the way you need to capture what you're looking for, that's more listeners, more downloads, both the human and the algorithmic kind. So you do all these things, you pursue all these goals, you achieve the goals, and the result will be exponentially increasing listeners and downloads over time. I also want to break that paradigm just ever so slightly and define what a download is. A download means somebody clicked on a link.
Yeah.
It does not mean they ever clicked play.
Yeah.
So that's a vanity metric as far as I'm concerned. I furthermore say that, let me ask you this question, Tim. And I know that you are You're somebody who cares. You're somebody who is of service to your community, market, and audience.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you and I having this conversation, who would you say is your most important listener?
Probably my mom.
Okay, I know you had to say that because she's probably tuning in. I'm sure, and I can tell by her son she's a wonderful woman. But aside from your mom, who's your most important listener?
Probably my guest.
Me, yes, exactly. I'm your most important listener because other than your efforts, I'm the one that decides how much this sees the light of day.
Yeah.
I'm the one that you are guaranteed to have tuned in the entire time.
Yep.
I'm the one that you're guaranteed to have an opportunity to speak with outside of the official interview where we're live or you're doing the recording.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have others, but I'm the one who's guaranteed. I'm the one you got.
Yeah.
And when you look at this, again, key networking, client attraction, celebrity expert branding tool, it's using the first piece of that, the networking. And when you network, you're more likely to attract the clients because you increase the chance that your guest could become your client or could introduce you to your next client or could build a bridge over a degree of separation that currently stands between you and your next clients. Mm-hmm. So when you take that focus, that is, to me, one of the key ways you monetize your podcast.
Cool. So, well, great information there. What is the best way then that best website people can reach out to you and find out more?
I would encourage people to go to www.thereachsystem.com. That website is about the entire Reach system, particularly the podcast Reach system. We have some great resources that will help you discover more about the thought process behind this and how it works. And I'm just going to put it out there because they will see it when they go there. You all have the opportunity to set up a quick 20-minute call with me to answer any unique, bespoke questions that you as a listener may have. The initial call is free. The possibilities are endless. When you fill it out, just mention somewhere that you heard me on the Tim Gillette show.
The Tom Petty show. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
And you know what? That was actually an unforced error, but I wish I had thought of it consciously because that is actually a pretty good one.
Oh, anyway.
But what it also shows is that the whole not Tom Petty thing has become so embedded that I subconsciously said Tom, even though I was literally looking at the screen in StreamYard right now at your logo that says Tim.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because that Tom Petty thing really was, it was a good couple of years of fun, just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, Adam, it's been great having you on the show today. All right. And it's great getting to know you and have you as a guest. Before you go, though, I've got to play my game with you, man.
All right. I love it. Let's do it.
All right. We've got 7 envelopes. You get to pick 3 envelopes, and then we're going to ask you the questions out of those envelopes. Number 1 through 7. Pick 3.
Okay. Alessandra, what numbers am I picking? Okay. My cat says 2, 4, and 6.
2, 4, 6. These ones go over there. So now we get to open the envelopes and find out what questions we get to ask Adam today. Number 2 envelope.
Oh, okay. Bring it on, man.
I can only get the envelope to open. Number 1, who was the greatest NFL quarterback of all time, Joe Montana or Tom Brady?
Tom Brady by the numbers.
Okay.
Although I'll point out that my uncle and Joe Montana were friends growing up.
And
they
Joe
played football
Montana
together.
came from the same part of the country you did.
Exactly, yeah. So I've heard some Joe Montana stories.
So have I.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, which is more scarier to you, snakes or spiders?
Snakes.
Snakes. I can't stand snakes.
Yeah, I don't mind snakes. I grew up in a rural area, so I tried to have a simple understanding with the snakes, which is 95% of this land is undeveloped. You keep that. The 5% that I mow with the lawnmower, I intend to be for the humans. Stay off that, and we're cool.
Yeah. So it's funny because my childhood friend, his name was Tim. We were going to get firewood for his dad when we were kids. And I remember he drove the tractor to pull the trailer back, and I rode the pickup with his dad, and we seen a snake on the side of the road, and his dad got the gun out, shot the snake, threw it in the box, threw it in the back of the bed of the truck, and my friend Tim had the skin for years. He still has the rattle, but he had the skin
Wow.
for years. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
That's interesting.
yeah. So question number 3. This is kind of one of those weird ones we threw in there, and I don't know.
I love
man.
weird. I love
Yeah.
weird. Let's do it.
Staple or paper clip? Which do you use to hold your papers together?
Staples.
Yeah.
It's because
Staples.
it's because I'm supervised by my feline office managers.
Yeah.
And they will take the paper clips and run with them. The staples they cannot get. I mean, you've already seen my one supervisor, Princess Alessandra Francesca. She's attacked my webcam. She's attacked me. She's jumped up and down like 3 times, and I don't even pretend like I can try and stop that. I just integrate her into what I do.
This is why I don't have pets anymore. Because my cat came up and knocked my computer over a couple months ago, and I had to buy a brand new computer.
Wow, that's pretty dramatic. What I've learned about Alessandra in particular is somehow she knows the button to push that can cause the maximum amount of disruption. Yeah. Like if I were to find that one button I'd push it might just type a letter. But if she pushes it, all hell breaks loose. So she has a certain magical power that I wish she could give to me at some point. Maybe I could utilize it for good.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next envelope. Envelope number 4.
Okay.
Question number 1 is, who was the better lead singer of Van Halen, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? I'm
going to go with Sammy Hagar.
Okay. That's it. Interview over. No. Let's move on.
I will be clear. I liked Eddie Van Halen too. I just.
I'm sorry. Can you tell I'm an Eddie Van Halen fan?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of like one of those hairline decisions. It's like who's the best lead singer of Chicago? They had at least 3. Yeah. Actually, I think they had 4, if I remember correctly. I mean, in that case, it's pretty easy. Peter Cetera, but I know that there are fans of the other ones as well. But I think they're all good.
Yeah. Next one here. I mean, this is kind of unique because I know the part of the country you grew up in, and you may have an opinion on this one. Best coffee, Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks?
I don't drink coffee.
I'm sorry.
But if I were to pick between those 2 establishments, I'm going to go with Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, it was nice knowing you. Question number 3, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Yeah. I figured you for a Trekkie. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just figured you. Kirk or Picard?
Kirk.
I'm sorry. Love the original series. Picard was a better leader, my opinion. Yeah. So, all right. Number 6. Let's see what these questions are.
Okay. Maybe we'll do a little bit better on this set.
Yeah, maybe. Well. Oh, this is the good one. In your house, does the toilet paper go over on the roll or under?
Over, like the patent says it's supposed to.
Mine used to sit on the back of the toilet. When my kids come over for Thanksgiving, they put it on the roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I don't care. Yeah. Question number 2, beer or wine?
Wine.
Wine? A red person or a white person?
Red.
You're like, all right. So have you tasted like different places around the country?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I do a Monday night podcast with a friend on alcoholic beverages and food pairing, and we're doing wines next week. But red wines out of South New Mexico. There is a winery called St. Clair, or I think they've changed the name of it now. But they make, and there's a couple of them in New Mexico make this with Hatch chili in a red wine.
Wow.
Check it out, my friend. You taste it?
That sounds intriguing.
It's just that little bite that makes it go, ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
I want more. Yeah. So, question number 3, our last one here: Superman or Batman?
I'm gonna go with Superman.
Yeah, we got more Superman fans.
And that's another one of those hairline decisions because I am a fan of the works of Batman as well.
Yeah. You know, it's like that. It's like a favorite.
See, the other thing is when you have black cats, you think Batman almost.
Yeah. Just
by the shape of the head and everything else. See, this is Alessandra. She's the one that's been causing all the ruckus here. Yeah, and she's purring like a diesel engine right now. It's a good girl. Okay, get down. Let Dad finish the interview.
All right. Well, Adam, again, I want to thank you for coming in and being a guest today, taking time out of your schedule to share with my audience. All right. I want one more time for you to tell the website so that they can come out and connect with you again.
www.thereachsystem.com. There's lots of fun to be had there. And if you decide to use that website to connect with me directly, make sure you mention you heard me on the Tim Gillette show, so I can say, "Oh, it worked."
Yeah. Oh my God.
The first opportunity is absolutely free. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I love that. So, well, Adam, I thank you for being on. You came on here, all right, and I appreciate you so much, man. I'm glad I got to know you.
And same here.
Cool. To you guys, the audience, I want to thank you for tuning in today. Go check out thereachsystem.com. Get to know Adam. All right. Maybe book an appointment with him and tell him you heard from me, so that way he knows it was worth his time. Right. That's the way it works. In the meantime, guys, I will be back again with another guest real soon. Guys, have a great day and take care. Bye now.